Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Retirement Roadmap Show. I'm your host, Dave Nagy, and in the studio, we have my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, it's going great. Haven't talked to you in a few weeks. I know you've been really busy,
Yeah,
but glad to be here. Thanks for having me on your show. I know you've got a great topic lined up for us. But before we get to that, I haven't talked to you since Thanksgiving.
yeah.
So I did want to ask. I want to make sure during my Thanksgiving weekend, I had a good one, by the way. But I was concerned. I'm like, boy, I sure hope David Nagy overeats and gets too much to eat. I hope he ate too much because that's what Thanksgiving is all about, right? Overeating.
Some of the
Did you?
things that go through your head, Tony, I wonder,
Uh,
I worry about you that
it's a
you're
scary place.
you're
I
you're
know.
thinking of me about on Thanksgiving. But yeah, so I've been eating really clean these last few months,
Yeah,
and
you've
I
been
actually
trying to stay healthy, right?
yeah, I did a fast. I ate
Yeah,
nothing
that's
but
good.
liquids for a week, which is not easy to do.
Ooh,
And I thought,
yeah.
Thanksgiving, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to have all those things
Ooh,
that I haven't had in a year. And one of my favorite, a lot of times food brings back childhood memories. And for me, it's
it does.
eggnog and stuffing and mom's yams and these things that you don't eat
Mm,
all the time. But
yeah.
I was in Costco and they had eggnog, and I said I got to get some eggnog. So I went home, and this was the Thanksgiving day. We're getting ready to go to a friend's house, and I thought, man, I'm gonna have eggnog with a little bit of rum in it. And I drank one, and I was like, wow, that's so good. I'm gonna have another. Well, about four in, I'm like, I'm pretty full, thinking, okay, I should probably stop. So then we drive over to the friend's house, and I eat they had this giant cheese plate out with all these great, so I'm
Of
eating
course they did.
cheese and I'm
Oh,
stuffing my
no.
face. So my body was not used to
Oh,
eh,
that's
you know,
brutal. That sounds
the
brutal.
dairy bomb
Ooh,
that
yeah.
happened. Needless to say, at about 7 o'clock, I had the worst stomach ache that I've had in years, and my body
Mm,
clearly was not happy with it. So
no.
yes, Tony, I ate too much and I paid the price.
Dearly for it. Well,
And we
yeah,
won't go into more detail, but
when I'm talking about eating too much, I'm thinking maybe a second helping of potatoes and turkey and gravy, but four eggnog is great with a little rum, but you have to it's moderation,
yeah,
David. And cheese along on top of that, especially if you've been fasting and eating right, you start putting that stuff in your body and it's going to have a bad reaction.
it
Yeah.
was not good.
That's not good. But other than that, did you have a happy Thanksgiving?
Oh my goodness, yes. Lots to
Yeah.
be grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
that's, I was joking, of course, about overeating. I mean, we joke about it. A lot of people do overeat on Thanksgiving. I usually do, but it's really about gratitude.
yep,
And gratitude is so important, isn't it?
it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's what keeps me grounded. Anytime you go through tough things, I just remember how much I have to be grateful for, and the thing, whatever we're going through, seems pretty small in comparison.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think that's a great attitude and outlook. And David, I know that you've been so busy with family things and you've been
Yeah.
working hard on your health and things. You look great, by the way.
Oh,
I'm
thank
trying to
you.
lose weight. Of course,
You have. You look
the ho-
wonderful.
the holidays hitting doesn't help, but
No.
I'm working at it. But now you wanted to talk about legacy planning,
Yeah.
and you almost jokingly you threw out a title, "The Cobbler Has No Shoes,"
Yeah.
right, for today's show. And I
Mhm.
love that title. And I have a little story. You, especially, David, will enjoy this. But our listeners may get a kick out of it too. I've worked with independent financial advisors like yourself from all over the country,
Yeah.
right? And hundreds over the years, gotten to know and be friends with them. I was doing a show with a guy, this is a number of years ago, and he got on there and he talks like this, and he's about 77 years old, right? He's in his late 70s, and that's his voice. And on the show, he said, Tony, today I want to talk about retiring early and helping people retire early. And I couldn't let it go. Right. I said, now, James, I know you're not shy about talking about your age. You're in your 70s. Yeah, I'm 77, Tony. And I go, well, James, you don't find it ironic or hypocritical that you're talking to people about how they can retire early when you yourself, as the financial planner, are still working late into your 70s? And I was teasing because he loves what he does and he's still had a sharp mind. But it's kind of like the cobbler's kids have no shoes. And for those who don't know what a cobbler is, for our younger listeners, that's a shoemaker, right?
Yeah.
And that was an old phrase. It's
Mhm.
like the cobbler who makes the greatest shoes, and all the wealthy people in town would go to him and buy the most expensive handmade shoes, very comfortable. But you go home, he hasn't had time to make his own kids' shoes,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
the problem here, isn't it?
It really is. And, you know, I've been doing this for 40 years now.
Yeah.
And
You must have started when you were 10.
yeah,
You don't look a day over 50.
well, I love you too. And like your 77-year-old colleague,
Yeah.
I love what I do. I tell my clients all the time, it's not work for me because I get to work with amazing people and I love helping them. And
Same.
but
I feel the
I
same.
right and so I will work as long as I can because to me it's not work. I won't work as many days in the week, but that's a
Sure.
different topic.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I've always been proud of is that I've always taken my own advice.
Yes.
And
That's key.
I did my own living trust 20 years ago when I first got married and we bought our first home. I did one for my father and mother. My father never had one. He was not going to do one, but I did it for them. I paid for it. All of my friends, all of my clients, everybody has a living trust. And, I was going back through our archives and we actually did a radio show last year around this time about living trusts.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and the reason that I wanted to do it again this year is because even though I did it for my father, and thank goodness we had the power of attorney and the living will and all the other
Yeah.
things that go with it, he still made a lot of mistakes in the end. And it's because, and I see this with clients, I see this with other um, clients, family members, as we get older and as they start to go into dementia and they start to lose their abilities, even though we've done a lot of the planning, depending on the client, like my father was just difficult. He didn't want to listen to anybody. He didn't like to do anything that wasn't his own idea. Even though we might have thought it was the right thing to do, he had a big ego. And, it was just hard to get him to do things
Mhm.
unless it came out of his own brain. And so, one of the things that I watched with my father is that the decline didn't happen overnight. It was a slow process. And I
Yeah.
started to see the dementia well before I think a lot of other people did. And once it was really clear, he was in denial about it. He didn't want to accept it. He didn't want to ask his doctors about it. He didn't want to get any help. And unfortunately, when someone goes down that road, the dementia gets bad quickly.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, when you've got a strong willed parent, it really is a perfect storm for them just making really bad decisions. And
Yep.
so,
I'm there with my father,
yeah, and
unfortunately.
it's tough.
Yeah.
And so, listen, if you're going through this, this is extremely common. So, if you're out there listening, you're not alone. There's a
Right.
lot of people that are going through this. And, when I do my workshops, we do retirement workshops, we do 2 or 3 a month where we talk about these issues. And I'll ask people, raise your hand if you know someone that is going through dementia or needs long-term care, is in a facility. And then I say, raise your hand if that's one of your family members. And then I say, raise your hand if, right now you are taking care of someone. And almost everybody in the audience either knows someone that's going through it, knows someone that is helping a family member, or is someone that's there going through it.
Mhm.
So, with my own father, it happened very quickly. I started to reach out to his doctors, and I was asking the doctors, look, he needs to be tested. But unfortunately, if the patient isn't willing, it doesn't matter how much you're being involved. If the patient isn't willing, it can be very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be, and that's why planning ahead before you get to that point and having some groundwork laid out, I think is
Yeah.
so important. And if it's a family history, or if there's, now more and more people are getting that, so make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Unfortunately, sometimes, like both you and myself, with my father, I have powers of attorney. He has a updated will and a trust.
Yeah.
However, still making mistakes and refusing things, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot you can do in that instance, you
There's
know?
really not. And
Yeah.
so, for those of you out there listening, make sure your parents have a living trust,
Oh, yeah.
that they've updated the wills. The financial powers of attorney become very important.
Yeah, they'll be huge. Without them, my dad would be broken out of money and
Yeah.
in a really bad place.
Yeah. And then for my parents, my father passed away this year. And so my mother would have been destroyed had we not done all this.
Yeah.
Make sure the medical powers attorney, the advanced directives, the HIPAAs,
Yep.
and then most importantly, and this is where my dad, he made some bad decisions in the end. He opened up a CD with a big chunk of their savings, and he didn't name a beneficiary, and
Oh,
he did it only in his name.
oh.
So even though we had everything else set up, when you open those accounts and you don't list a beneficiary, and
It goes to the courts.
it goes to probate,
Yeah.
and
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 then
that
there's court fees and attorney
court fees,
fees, and it takes forever.
and that's
If you need
that
that money for things, to pay for things, or
that's that's the biggest point. My
yeah.
mom needs the money, and now it's tied up, and so you got to make sure you're on top of these
Yeah,
things,
that's
and
terrible.
that you ask your parents these questions, because he didn't tell any of us that he did this. We had no idea there was a separate account. The bank, when my mom went in, did mention it, but we couldn't get any information on it. We didn't know the dollar amount. So these are big mistakes people make. And even having a son that is a financial advisor that helps with legacy planning, that I help clients all the time do trusts,
Yeah.
it still happens. And
Yeah.
so, I just want to make sure that we remind people that you really want to update those beneficiary designations. You want to avoid probate, and these small oversights can have a huge effect.
Yeah, and if you can get your parents, grandparents, loved ones, spouse communicating about money and making sure there are beneficiary designations, that's a huge point, David, because
Oh,
like you said, that now the money's tied up and your mom needs it but can't access it.
yeah,
And there's, as a financial advisor, you feel like I'm the cobbler whose kids have no shoes because I'm a financial advisor helping people avoid this. And it happened to me. But the problem is, it's not on you. Communication early on is key. And then if you have somebody like my grandfather who passed away and kind of started this downhill spiral with money and the legacy and the estate for my dad by leaving him the farm, him and his siblings, they never talked about money. My grandfather or my father would not discuss finance, would not talk about it with anyone. So there was a lot of miscommunication and lack of communication, and that's going to hurt. So if you can get your parents and your loved ones and yourself all on the same page and talking about everything they have, I know it's hard to talk about specifics, but just tell them, hey, if you have accounts, I don't need to know amounts, but you've got to have beneficiary designations. And it doesn't necessarily have to be me, but, make sure mom or dad is, you each need beneficiary designations on all your accounts so you don't leave each other in a bad situation, or your
Yeah.
kids or your grandkids or whoever you want to have that money or is going to need that money, right?
Yeah. And I think that's the key there, Tony, right? Is have these conversations early and have them often.
Yeah.
And I think, looking at my own situation, even though I had done everything for my parents, I probably should have brought it up multiple times. Do you have any accounts that mom's not on? It just didn't occur. He was always so good at all that it didn't occur to me to ask those questions.
Yeah.
And so, the one thing that I want to share with people that I learned is have the conversations, have them early, have them often. Even though you think they've got it covered, it can't hurt to just say, hey, have you updated the beneficiary designation? Is mom or dad on the accounts, right? You got to make sure that there's clarity. And it's not about control. It's not about trying to take things away from them. It's just about protection and avoiding these future emergencies that arise when now things, once he's gone, he's gone. You can't fix it.
Right. Yeah, and you got to realize you can't take it with you. I've never seen a U-Haul being towed by a hearse on the way to the gravesite. So you have to have a plan in place, and you don't want to leave your loved ones in a bad situation. Even if I don't want to talk to my kids about this. Do you want to help your grandkids out with college? Do you want to, make sure your wife is taken care of? And there's always going to be a reason to have it set, or your favorite charity. You got to have those designations in there. You got to get this stuff done. And again, like you said, communicate early, communicate often. And David, I've heard you on past shows say that about saving and how to prepare for retirement. Save early, save often. When it
Yep.
comes to legacy planning, communicate early, communicate often. And the third one is vote early, vote often.
Yes.
Wait, no, I'm just kidding on the last. That's Chicago politics. Vote early, vote often. I've heard that said, but not by you. So that's good. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is important. And legacy planning, the legacy you leave, and people say, well, I'm not rich. I don't need to worry about this, or I don't have that much money. Oh no, you have a everybody has a legacy. Everybody
Yeah.
has something. Your Social Security payment. It could be what your spouse is relying on.
Yeah. And it's not about wealth. It's about protecting your loved ones.
Yes,
And
exactly.
my parents don't have a lot of money. I always told my dad, spend it. I don't want it. I don't need it. But it's my mom needs it right now. And that's the difficult thing.
Yeah, that's hard.
So,
Yeah.
if you're listening today and your parents are starting to show signs of decline, now's the time to get everything updated. If you're 60 or older, do your kids a favor. Make sure you get your plan organized before they're put in the position that I was.
Yeah.
And then for those of you that aren't even sure what to do, call my office, email me. I'll send you a free checklist, or an estate planning review for you to do. So you can reach out at 619-460-9433, or you can email me at david@srswealthmanagement.com. Go to our website, srswealthmanagement.com. You can click on free review. It's complimentary. We don't charge for this. I love what I do. I really enjoy helping people, and, I want to honor my father. It was a difficult journey for him. And those
Sure.
last few months were tough. It was really difficult to see him like that. He was a Marine. He was a proud Marine. He was a tough old bird. He lived to be 90 and a half.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I've heard stories from you. He was a tough old bird.
he was a
Yeah.
tough old bird. But, look, I understand. My father was proud.
Yeah.
He was strong-willed. He was stubborn. I get it. I just went through it. But don't wait for the perfect moment. It's never going to come.
Right.
Reach out to them. Start the conversation subtly. Drop hints. You can do it in a kind way. What I think I wish I would have said was, hey, Dad, I know you've got this covered, but have you made sure that mom's on all the accounts if something happens to you? Have you updated the beneficiary designations? I know it's important for you to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it was a simple conversation I could have had that I didn't.
Well, it's
And
hard with our own it's hard with your own relatives. It's you're really good at helping other people figure these things out, but when it
Mhm,
comes to that's where the phrase "the cobbler has no shoes" comes from. It's hard when
mhm,
it's your own self and your own family, and especially
mhm.
your situation with your dad. And my dad and grandfather, 100% English and a bit reserved. Don't talk about money.
Yeah,
The communication isn't always there. And their communication, my dad just was never great at communicating.
yeah,
And now that he's older, it's tougher. And just a wonderful man, and we love each other. But wow, it's hard. It's hard, and it's only going to get harder if you wait, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Well, David, great show today. Give that phone number. So if our listeners out there want a no charge, no obligation consultation with you and your team there, how can they get a hold of you?
Yep, 619-460-9433. Again, 619-460-9433. Or go to our website, srswealthmanagement.com, and we'd be happy to get you either on a video conference, Zoom, Teams, or in person.
All right. Well, great show today. Thank you, David.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tony.
listeners and viewers out there. That does it for today's episode of the Retirement Roadmap Show with our host, David Nagy.